Welcome to Make Shit Happen, episode number 14. Today our guest is Wade Smith. Wade, thank you for coming over here.
Sam, I appreciate you having me, man.
Thank you so much. I know you're a big NFL guy and an ambassador of Houston Texans now.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you, coming over here and taking the trip. You live close by over here, huh?
Yeah, about 20 minutes down the road, man. Not too far at all, man. It's a good area over here. Like I see, you got this nice setup here, exclusive, man. You gotta love it, man. I'm looking forward to the tour of the spot.
I was with last week. I met you at your the elementary school where you read to the kids. Tell me, I know you started a foundation, and the name of the foundation is, what is it? Can you tell us?
It's the Wade Smith Foundation.
Wade Smith Foundation,
Yeah.
And it's about the literacy and the childhood reading. So tell me why did you start that, and what made you start that?
Well, two things. Ever since I made it to the NFL, there was a lot of people that helped me get to where I was able to get in life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew that once I made it, I wanted to make sure that I paid that forward and paid that back to those people as a thank you. Like, hey, thank you for allowing me to get to where I'm at now. Now I'm going to do the same for the people coming after me. Mm-hmm. And so throughout my career, I kind of hopped around place to place, and I would do little community service events with whatever team I was on. Mm-hmm. But once I signed my contract here in Houston, I knew I was like, all right, now I have the opportunity and the money behind it in order to actually give back in the way I wanted to. And the way I wanted to was to give back doing something that I'm passionate about myself, which was reading. And ever since I was a little kid, I loved reading books. And so just being able to share that passion for reading with our youth coming up is something I really wanted to do. And so I started the Wade Smith Foundation, and two of our major programs is Reading with the Pros and our Smitty Scholarship Program. And so the Reading with the Pros that's the event that you've gone to a couple of times, where we go to elementary schools throughout the city and talk to kids about the importance of reading and how it opens their mind and so many different opportunities. And it's such a foundational piece for them to eventually become successes in life. And so we've been doing that since 2012, and we've gone to over 60, 70 elementary schools and reached over 40, 50,000 kids here in Houston and Dallas, where I'm from. And so I really enjoy it myself, and you get a lot of great feedback from teachers and students alike. It's really cool because sometimes I might just be walking around minding my business, and somebody will come up to me, Mr. Wade, you came to my school, and I read like 10 books this summer, and our teachers that eventually became principals said, hey, I need you to come to my new school because your program does amazing things. These kids really buy into what you're telling them, and so it affects them in a positive way. And so the kids that I go to see, they're Title I school kids, and so that means that there's already a discrepancy in their economic backgrounds and their opportunities in life. And so I just try to bridge that gap with myself and the volunteers, readers like you, that come, just different professionals of all different fields, talking to kids about the importance of reading and how it can be the ultimate equalizer. It doesn't matter what type of background you have and what opportunities you might not have. If you open up books, if you read books, and you use that, you get your creative juices flowing, you can level the playing field against anybody that you're going to compete with. And this is America, and so this is a country that's all about competition. And so I'm all about giving kids that otherwise might not get a chance, giving them a chance.
Competition and opportunity, huh?
Yeah.
Land of opportunity. So, and I've been over there twice, this Reading with the Pros, and the kids get so excited.
Yeah.
And they're pumped up, and, it can really create a lasting impression in a kid's life that they saw somebody over there, somebody took the time. And, one of my friends once said, time is more valuable than money. You can give somebody money and they can appreciate it for a little bit, but the time, when you give somebody the time out of your life, it's more valuable than anything. So, my hat's off to you. You give a lot of time to these kids, reading these books and stuff. So, are you a big reader?
I am a big reader. Yeah. Luckily, unluckily, I don't get to read as much as I would like because I'm always doing stuff. But now most of the reading I do is like preparation for different shows I have going on or for appearances. I read for those reasons. But as far as just reading on my own and being able to read the books that I like to read all the time, I don't really get a chance to do it that much because since I've retired from the NFL, I've become extremely busy. There's always something going on. There's things that I would like to do. Mm-hmm. And so I have the ability to kind of dictate what I do day in and day out. And so I choose to do them. And so, big reader. I love John Grisham books. Big fan of his. Because he's the type of guy that a lot of his books have to do with law and crime and different dramas. A Time to Kill and just books like that. And so I enjoy reading those type of books when I get a chance. I just don't get to read them as much as I would like. The Pelican Briefs, just stuff like that.
You know, when I was at one of your Reading with the Pros, you said that when you were young, you liked to read those books because it took you to a place with your imagination.
Yeah.
You said you read these books with the mysteries and John Grisham and stuff. Do you still go back to places or do you go to places reading?
Well, yeah, man. Like I love reading like Game of Thrones, and so
Okay.
Game of Thrones, the books are better than the actual show, and the show is a great show. But it's an ultimate, a book or stories that open your mind, get your creative juices going, uses your imagination. Anytime, if you can go through life each and every day learning something, or allowing yourself or taking in some information that caused you to spark you to have an idea, then it was a productive day. And so reading stuff like that, I mean, it's enjoyable, but also it gets those creative juices going. It gets you thinking about thinking outside of the box. I think there's a lot of people that go through life kind of on a set schedule of this is what I do. I go A to B to C, but normal gets you nowhere. And so I'm a big fan of reading and just allowing your brain to access information so that you can come up with ideas that people haven't thought of and change someone's life in the process.
So if someone is listening to a show and they got kids or nephews or nieces or grandkids and they're listening to it, what kind of message will you give them about reading it? They might be a bad reader like me. I'm a terrible reader.
Right.
I sometimes I'm reading and my mind wanders at a lot of places. So what kind of message, with you being such a big advocate of reading, what kind of message will you have for people, to read to their kids or the nieces or the nephew or the grandkids? Why is it so important?
Well, I'll say this. First of all, you want to have your kids read things that they enjoy. So there's something that your kids enjoy. Like your kids might enjoy sports. They might enjoy cars. They might enjoy shoes. They might enjoy superheroes, whatever it may be. If there's something that they like to do or love to do that has nothing to do with reading, have them read books about that thing that they really love and care about. Because if you're reading about something you truly enjoy, you don't look at it as a chore. You look at it as like, oh, I'm learning something about something I really care about and enjoy. So I tell kids all the time when I'm going to school with them, like, listen, read about stuff that you like. Because what it does is it gives you practice and it helps you so that when you go to school and you have to read things that might not interest you or things you might not like, you're getting all this practice on your own time that's going to get you prepared to get through some of those things in school that might be a little bit more difficult for you because it doesn't hold your attention.
And reading is so important because you can use that. You use that throughout your life.
Yeah.
I mean, chemistry, you might never use it again, right?
Right.
But reading is something that, even when you are 50 years old or 40 or 60 or whatever it is, you have to read. If you're in business, you got to read, your leases, your letters, and, a bunch of other stuff that's involved. If you are, in medical school, you still got to read. If you're trying to become an engineer, you still got to read. So reading is, and the sooner we develop it, the better it is. Let's talk about your life. So you grew up in Dallas, Texas.
I did.
So tell us, how was life as a child? Did you always knew that you wanted to be an athlete and an NFL player? I mean, what was it?
So here's the thing, man. Like growing up as a kid, I always loved watching sports. I loved everything about sports. I used to collect like football cards and baseball cards. I wanted to be like those guys on TV, but I didn't truly believe that I could be like those guys on TV because if you were on TV, then you were special. And I didn't think I was special or anything. I just thought, I really love watching Walter Payton and Jerry Rice play football. I want to be like them, but did I ever think that I was going to be like them? Like, no, that wasn't a realistic thing to me. I've always been a realist. I've always been somebody that kind of saw things for what they were, even at a young age. Grew up, my parents got divorced at age 4. So it was one of those deals where I be at my dad's house on the weekends and be at my mom's house throughout the week. And so I think reading had to do with that too. Sometimes, to alleviate boredom. Didn't have a lot of money. It wasn't a situation where I can just go do what I wanted to do, or hey, let's go spend money to go here or there. But I could open up a book, and it could take me to wherever I wanted to go. And so, I didn't really realize that I could make it to the NFL until I was a junior, probably like my sophomore going into my junior year in college. It wasn't until then. Like even when I was coming out of high school, when people were looking at me about saying like, you can get a scholarship, you get an offer to go to school, my whole thought process was, all right, cool, I'm gonna get school paid for because I don't have money. My mom doesn't have money to pay for me to go to college. So I'm gonna get this scholarship and play ball and enjoy playing the game I love, but at the same time get a free education, get my degree, and eventually start my business and then go on with my life. Like that was my plan. So when I'm getting recruited by universities, the schools that are just talking to me all about ball, they started losing traction because I'm like, yeah, I mean, ball, I love ball, but it's not like I'm gonna be playing in the NFL or anything like that. That wasn't a realistic thought process for me. Yeah, so when I was in high school, I played tight end in a wishbone offense. So that means that in that offense, the tight end didn't get the ball. All we did was block. I was like a glorified offensive lineman. And so on TV, what you saw is tight ends that caught touchdowns and scored a bunch of points. And so I wasn't doing that in high school. So it wasn't realistic for me to go to the NFL because that's what those guys did. But my whole goal in high school was to win a state championship here in Texas. I went to Lake Highlands High School, which was back then it was a perennial powerhouse. Now it's trying to work its way back, but it was a powerhouse back then. And so that was my goal in life. Like I want to play varsity football for the Lake Highlands Wildcats. That's kind of like the kind of area and culture we developed. I'm sure it's probably the same way like at North Shore here in Houston. I'm pretty sure like kids that are in elementary school.
Why you said North Shore since they won the last 2 championships?
I mean, they've won the last 2, but they've probably been in it and won like the last, 5 out of 7 or something like that. They're a powerhouse. Yeah, I mean, North Shore has been. And
the power. You know what? And I want to not change the subject, but the power shifted from Katy to North Shore.
Yeah.
And I mean, North Shore. A lot of schools aren't they like a Title I, like the elementary and stuff? Aren't they like a little economically challenged area?
Is what, North Shore?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. Maybe so,
versus
but I'm
Katy.
not sure. For sure, I mean, if you're comparing it to Katy, for sure,
Yeah.
Katy's one of the most.
And I mean, growing up,
well-to-do districts in the state.
So, I went to A-Leaf. I mean, and every time we went to, and when I grew up, going to Hastings, every time we went to playoff, man, we got beat by Katy Tigers.
Well, Katy pretty much beats everybody else except North Shore. North Shore is the only team that really beats Katy.
Exactly, and I mean, I think the only year in last 3 years that North Shore didn't win, I think they got beat by Cy-Fair. Cy-Fair ended up winning the state.
Yeah,
and Cy-Fair beat Katy, went and beat North Shore, and that was the thing. But North Shore, I think, is a powerhouse. I think they have a culture right there.
Yeah, I mean, they created a culture. I'm pretty sure there. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty certain this is how it goes. Is that the kids in elementary school, Pop Warner, Little League football, run the same plays from Little League to middle school to high school. The same offense, it's the same defense. It's like a factory. They're
farming it.
They reload, man.
Yeah.
And so they reload talent each and every year. And so, I mean, it was like that growing up in Dallas and at Lake Highlands High School. We didn't win state, but we were going to the Final Four. Mind you, that's, if you look at it like the NCAA tournament, we were going to the Final Four, Elite Eight every year for about 5 or 6.
Now, you played
years.
Basketball too, or just football?
Nah, just football.
Just football.
Yeah, I was never good enough to make the basketball team.
So now you went to University of Memphis.
Yeah.
And you basically said that academics had a lot to do with where you selected the school. What other schools were final? Was there a Final 3, Final 4?
Yeah, there was a Final 3. So I was getting recruited heavily by TCU, Wisconsin, and Memphis. And so TCU was, I would say TCU was a little bit above Memphis as far as standing as a football team. Wisconsin was head and shoulders above it as a football team compared to Memphis. Wisconsin that year that was recruiting me was going to the Rose Bowl. I went on my visit up there and had a really good time. But it was one of those deals where everything was about football, and school was kind of secondary. This is something that means to an end kind of deal. And I didn't really agree with that line of thinking, and my mom definitely didn't agree with that line of thinking. I remember the head coach of Wisconsin coming into my apartment as a outgoing senior and talking to my mom about the school. And let's say if he was there for an hour, he probably spent 55 minutes talking about football and what I could do for the program and what the program could do for me as far as football, and maybe spent 5 minutes talking about getting a business degree and what that can do going forward in your life. And so once that happened, I kind of knew, like, yeah, he lost my mom and he really already lost me, so they really didn't have a chance. So they were very surprised when I chose Memphis over Wisconsin.
So you wanted a business degree when you were in high school.
Yeah.
So did you get it?
Yeah, I got a degree in finance.
In finance. So
yes.
did you, after football, did you ever apply that degree, or did you do anything in business? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, man. I owned a nightclub in Dallas for 5 years.
Uh-huh.
So that was from like 2011 to 2016. I owned a nightclub, Winston Supper Club in Dallas, and so it was one of the top spots in Dallas for a long period of time. And when I stopped doing that, it was to focus on the foundation. And once I focused on the Wade Smith Foundation, it took off. Because there was a period of about 3 years, maybe 4 years, 3.5 years where I was doing both. I had the foundation, I also had the club, and then I also was playing football in the NFL. And there was a lot of stuff going on, and there was things falling through the cracks. And so I was like, I got to focus on a certain thing. Where I retired from football, I still had the club and I still had the foundation, but the foundation wasn't taking off. And so I'm all about creating moments and feelings for people. I mean, like, that's kind of what life is about. You know what I mean? If you can go through life and you can do something to make somebody, you'll create a memory for them to last a lifetime, then you did something right. And so I was doing that with nightclubs, and people will always tell me stories about, man, I remember when and this and that, and man, I used to love that place. But at the end of the day, at the night, I was kind of like thinking to myself, like, what am I really doing to affect young people in a positive way? And I was trying to do it with the foundation, but it wasn't taking off because my time was it's only 24 hours in a day. I wish you could have like 36, you know what I mean? And then you can get some more things done, but it just doesn't work that way. So lease ran out with the venue I was at, and so I could have gone somewhere else and renewed, and I was like, no, I'm gonna put this to the side and focus on the foundation. And so since then, the foundation has taken off.
One more time, go back to the foundation. So what does the foundation do in whole?
Well, I mean,
what is the purpose and what is the sole purpose of the foundation?
It's to affect children in a positive way when it comes to education and literacy. So we have our youth portion of the foundation, which is our Reading with the Pros program, and that focuses on the elementary school age kids, just building that foundation with reading and literacy. And then also we have our Smitty Scholarship program, where we've given out right at $200,000 in scholarship money for outgoing seniors here in Houston and Dallas. So it takes care of that end of those seniors that are going to school, giving them an opportunity to further their education at universities throughout the country.
And how do you get the funds for the scholarship?
We do different fundraisers. I don't know. I don't think you've ever been to. So we've done.
I know last one. I think Amanda had invited me, but I just couldn't go.
Yeah. So Bulls and Blackjack and Bedtime Stories are two of the big fundraisers that we'll do each year. Mm-hmm. Bedtime Stories is something where we'd get current and former NFL athletes and just celebrities to walk a runway fashion show. Mm-hmm. And we were doing that at a nightclub here in Houston. And so it was like a pool party, but it was like at night, very upscale, classy. So we'd raise money during that. And then we also have Bulls and Blackjack, something we do where it's a Texas Hold'em tournament, but then it's also a casino night. So you have blackjack and blackjack and craps tables and all those various
basically
games.
A black tie affair kind of thing.
It turns into, it's a casino night. It's literally a casino night, but it's like not your run of the mill casino night where, I mean, I see casino nights all the time, and you go in there, it's like, oh, this is cool. Like when you go to our events, it's a production. And so we make sure that when people go to our events, it's kind of using that same mentality of when I own nightclubs, and that merging that, well, I'm putting on a party now, but this party is to raise money for kids.
For the scholarship benefit.
Yeah, and so it's the sole purpose of raising all this money is using that mentality of creating experiences and memorable moments for adults. But at the same time, now at the end of the night, these people didn't just spend thousands of dollars and it just went to somebody's bottom line to profit, by doing a club. The bottom line is now you can see different kids throughout the city of Houston and the state of Texas that are now going to various universities all over the country and bettering themselves, and then coming back home and bettering the place where we live. And so now, when at the end of the day, I can smile because it's a lot that goes into putting stuff together. You know what I mean? It was a lot to go into doing nightclubs, but it's like, I feel a lot better about what goes on and what you have to do to get to the bottom line of, all right, at the end of the day, all of the stuff that I do, all of the stuff that I put into invest in as far as time and money and effort to make things happen, at the end of the day, I can see kids' smiling faces, and so it makes it all worth it.
So foundation is what you do right now. You also, have a show. Do you have a show on 610 Radio? Or
So I have my own show with myself and Travis Johnson. So that's the Smitty and Trap show that comes on every Wednesday night on Sports Radio 610.
Mm-hmm.
So that's every week. But then I also do various shows throughout the week and days. So like today, I'm going to be on Clint Sterner's show from 2 to 6 p.m. and I'll do that pretty regularly. And sometimes I do the morning show. So I'm all over the place over there. I'm getting my reps. It's something that I really enjoy doing. Mm-hmm. It's something that eventually I would like to do full time. So I'm just kind of building my way to that.
Getting the reps in.
Yeah, getting the reps. Because a year ago at this time, I would come on and do like an hour segment on a show, and that was it.
So now you're doing more like 3 hours, 4 hours.
Well, yeah, like this past 3 days, I drove that show. So the same show that I was on for an hour, a few days ago, for 3 straight days, I drove that show, which means that coming in out of the breaks, making sure we're hitting the topics, all that, it was basically my show for those 3 days. And so this is on the morning, one of the top morning shows in the city of Houston. So in a year's time, a lot of progression has been made. And so I'm looking forward to keeping on doing that.
So when you're on this show, are you only talking about football? Or are you talking about all sports?
We talk about all sports. You talk about just stuff that goes on in the world today. You know what I mean? You try to keep it. I mean, it's a sports show, so I would say 85-90% of it, you're talking about some type of sports, but we also like to keep it light, too, and talk about various things that go on around the world. So, but, yeah, we try to stay away from politics. That's probably the one thing.
One thing you don't want to touch.
Mess with the politics, yeah.
What did you think about Kobe Bryant's passing?
Man, that was tough, and the reason why it was tough is, okay, first of all, he was this generation's Michael Jordan. So I couldn't imagine if I lost Michael Jordan in a helicopter accident, I couldn't imagine how I would handle that. So when Kobe Bryant passed away, for me, it hit me hard because it was more of on that father-daughter tip. I have 4 daughters. My 2 oldest daughters both play club volleyball at a very high level. So you saw Kobe after he retired, just go all in with the same mentality that he had as an athlete, being one of the best to ever do it. He had that same mentality in coaching and helping bring women's sports or youth sports, girls sports to a higher level. And so I could see that, and I had been doing the same thing, of course, not on that same level. But if you listen to my show on the radio, I talk about club volleyball, I talk about all this type of stuff because I have a platform, and it's something that's really, really an awesome thing that goes on in these cities, but people might not know about. So when you have the opportunity to use your platform, you use it to try to push it and grow the game. And so that's what he was doing. He's using his huge platform to grow the game. And he was on the way to take his daughter to go play a game when he passed away. And so that hit me hard. I was actually in the gym at my daughter's volleyball match when I got the news. I'm recording my daughter play. Someone walks up to me and said, "Man, Kobe just died." I'm I'm looking at them like they crazy. What are you talking about, man? Moving around. And it was no, Kobe, he died in a helicopter accident. And then you had all the different reports about all of his kids were on there, and then found out that, Gigi, his daughter, was on there, and then there was 7 other people. I mean, it was all these different reports, but it hit me like a ton of bricks because I totally understand what he was trying to do and at what level he was trying to do it. And if you love sports and you love playing the game, just like I love everything about sports and playing the game, They was just going to play a game, man.
They were just
And
going to play a game.
and they lost their lives in the process. So
I'll
that
never
was tough.
forget. I'll never forget what I was doing. So I mean, there's a couple of things, there's a couple of events that will happen in your lifetime that means a lot to you.
Yeah.
That you'll never forget where you were at. I mean, 9/11. I'll never forget what I was doing.
Yeah.
I mean, Kobe Bryant's passing was probably, when I heard the news, what I was doing, I'll probably never forget. I was working. We were going to a show in Vegas, to a furniture show, and I'm in the Uber ride,
Yeah.
and my brother who's sitting right next to me is like, man, Kobe Bryant died. I'm like, what are you talking about? Next thing you know, I got 2 or 3 texts right
Yeah.
back to back, and I'm like, get the hell out of here! What are you talking about? And it kind of hit me. I grew up, watching, Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon. I love Hakeem,
Yeah.
because from Houston.
Yeah.
But I never went to a game to go see Michael Jordan or Hakeem. We didn't have the money.
Yeah.
So I went to, when I was going to games, I was watching Kobe Bryant play.
Right.
That's probably one of the first mega star that I saw play.
Yeah.
And even though I didn't like him when he played us,
Right.
you can just do nothing but admire him.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was one of the greatest players of all times. I mean, you got to put him in the conversation. I mean, when you and a guy like that disappears, or I mean passes away, I mean leaves a big void.
Yeah.
I mean,
It was sudden.
It's
You know
sudden
what I mean? It was completely unexpected.
and young.
Very young.
And I mean,
You know what I
the
mean?
thing is, I'm 42,
Yeah.
and what is he, 40? I think it's 40, 41.
Yeah, somewhere around there. A
Yeah,
couple
so I
years
mean,
older than me.
so I
Yeah.
think that's probably, another thing. Like, oh man, he's the same age as me. So
Yeah,
And-
it lets you know that your own mortality is such a realistic thing. If something like that can happen to him, it can happen to anybody.
To anybody.
And so it makes you take a step back, and it makes you think to yourself, you know what I got to do? I have to each and every day make sure I make it count. You can't go through a day and waste it, because you don't know when it's going to be your last moment here on this earth, and you don't know what type of legacy you're going to leave behind. Like the legacy that Kobe Bryant left behind is tremendous. And so you want to make sure that when you go, that you're going to be missed, because you're going to be missed because of all the things you were doing to help other people. And that's what he was doing. And so if you, I just think that's why the loss is so tremendous, because he was doing so much to grow youth sports, volleyball, basketball. He was doing stuff with USA volleyball, USA basketball for women. He was doing things in the WNBA, trying to help get their pay amounts raised to something more similar to what their counterparts might get. And so he was championing all those causes all at the same time. And so to lose him, that was tough, man.
Yeah, it was. And then also when I found out his daughter wasn't there,
Yeah.
I got daughters too. I'm a father. It just kind of hit me like a ton of bricks, that one. I mean, it was sad. But, moving on from that, I mean, that leaves a big void. So I mean, you can't, imagine that. So I'm sure you talk about that on your show. And I'm sure there was a lot of calls about that show.
Yeah, I mean, we did on the Smitty and Trap show. We did basically the whole show just about that. They did on Sports Radio 610, because the day after it happened, I wasn't on myself. But once I got on my Wednesday show, we dedicated a lot of time to it, just talking about the impact that he had on, just the world in general, but just us personally. And the whole thing is at the end of it is like, listen, follow his example, follow his lead, and make sure that going forward, you're continuing to, it's just like Nipsey Hussle, like the marathon continues. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to put in the work each and every day and give back to those that might not otherwise get an opportunity. And that was what Kobe was doing. And so, that's one thing that each individual person can take upon themselves and do. Like, hey, I'm going to make sure that each and every day I'm going to make it count. And if my calling or something that I feel moved to do is to help others, to help kids, to do whatever, I'm going to do those things, and I'm going to do it to my utmost of my abilities.
What do you think about Nipsey Hussle?
He was.
You just quoted him, so
I mean,
he
was another great man. He was a great that was taken away from us too soon, and that was on some, somebody that was close to him, that was jealous, that took him out.
Evil.
And that happens. It happens way too often. It happens way too often in our community, where you have people that shine a light, and somebody, because of jealousy or any other whatever reasons, snuff that light out. And so
Yeah.
It's almost like the same old thing, just a different day. But after a while, you get tired of seeing like people like that was doing such positive things in the community. I mean, he was a round the way type cat. Like, he was not, high in the sky type dude. He was right there on Slauson. He was right there in Crenshaw, like, all the time, and trying to give back and build up the community with business and giving people opportunities. And so anytime you see and you hear about somebody like that getting taken out, it's a frustrating scenario, but it's been done so many times before. But like you said, the marathon continues. Once, we lost him, but people still got to pick up that baton, pick up that torch, and keep going. And that's the same thing with Kobe.
So you were a Pro Bowler a couple of times.
Just one time.
Just one time.
Yeah.
How's that experience?
It was awesome, man. I didn't go to my Pro Bowl till my 10th year in the league. So I'd been in the league for a long time, but I was able to take my family to Hawaii. Back then the Pro Bowl was in Hawaii. So I kind of shortchanged those guys these years. These days they got to go to Orlando, and Orlando's a fine place, but it's not like going to Hawaii. Yeah. So, but I was able to fly out my parents and my brothers and sisters and my wife and kids, of course, and it was a great experience to be able to get in the huddle. And Peyton Manning's the quarterback. I had a bunch of my teammates there with me, guys like Dwayne Brown, Arian Foster, Andre Johnson, Owen Daniels. There was a bunch of guys there. I think we had 9 guys go to the Pro Bowl that year. That was after the 2012 season.
We were 14-2 that year?
I believe we went 12-4.
12-4. Yeah,
12-4 that year. Yeah, we started off the season 11-1, and we ended up 12-4.
12-4. Yeah. That was a great year, huh?
Yeah. That was a great year, but you know what? The best team that I was on was the year before that, in 2011. 2011, if you go back and look at that team, man, like the amount of Pro Bowlers that were on that roster, either at that time, a year before, or like a year or so after, it's ridiculous. It was probably out of 22 starters, you had like 16 Pro Bowlers on that roster. And the only problem was our starting quarterback, Matt Schaub, got hurt probably in the 10th game of the year. Mm-hmm. And so we ended up having a rookie playing, and he did well for us, helped us get to the playoffs. I got TJ Yates, but we struggled in the playoff game against Baltimore on the road. But when people ask me, like, have you ever played on a Super Bowl or played in the Super Bowl before? I'm like, nah, but I've played on a Super Bowl caliber team before. Like, we had a bunch of injuries that year. Andre Johnson played I believe he played 7 games that year. But we still balled.
You think we had Super Bowl caliber team that year?
For sure. Like, I don't think I know it. The year after I left the Texans, I went to Seattle. Seattle had just won the Super Bowl the year before that, right? Mm-hmm. I was in their locker room. I could feel the vibe in there, and I was like, this feels like what it felt like in 2011, where we lose Mario Williams for the season. He had 6 sacks in 6 games. Then he's out for the year. Mm-hmm. But then we got a young guy like Brooks Reed comes in there and balls out. Has his best year in his career, his rookie year. Mm-hmm. We had a bunch of dogs on that team. We had a squad, and so we had Arian Foster had over 1,300 yards. Our backup running back had 950 some yards.
Who was the backup running back?
Ben Tate.
Ben Tate.
Yeah. So our offensive line, arguably the best offensive line in the league that year. It was Dwayne, myself, Chris Myers, Mike Brazil, Eric Winston. Oh, yeah. All those guys either went to a Pro Bowl, got our Pro votes, whatever. Yeah. You have a really good offensive line, you got a chance. And so we started off the season 7-3, lost our quarterback, ended up making the playoffs. That was the first year we went to the playoffs as an organization, won the division, won our first playoff game handily. We went to Baltimore. We turned the ball over 4 times. Can't win. Lost by a touchdown. We turned over 4 times, lost by a touchdown. We were better than that day. If you go back and look at the tape, we was kicking their ass up and down the field. But you turn the ball over, you can't win. Not against a good team.
Not against a good team.
Yeah.
Who won the Super Bowl that year?
But I think that was the year that the Patriots might have went and lost maybe that year. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah,
I think that was the year that they went and lost because Baltimore beat us and then lost to the Patriots. Yeah. But I think the Patriots might have lost to the Giants that year.
New York Giants?
Yeah, I think they might have lost to the Giants that year.
So what do you think? You're ambassador for Texans. What does that mean?
Basically, I go out and do autograph signing events, maybe on the day of the game, or I'll go to different youth camps, like Play 60 events, or I'll go speak at school. So, like a lot of the stuff that I do on my own with the Wade Smith Foundation, I do similar things with the Texans. So, but in that role, I'm a Texans ambassador for my own foundation. I'm executive director of the Wade Smith Foundation. And so, anything that has to do with setting positive example for kids and I'm talking to them about the importance of reading, or talking to them about the importance of nutrition and being able to use good time management, all those type of things. So we do that, and sometimes they might have me go into a suite and hang out with some VIPs or whatever, and just chop it up with them.
So now let me ask you a question. You grew up in Dallas. Did you grow up as a Dallas Cowboys fan?
I hated them.
Yeah.
I absolutely hated the Cowboys as a kid.
Oh yeah,
because
you were who's
I was a big 49ers and Bears fan growing up, because my two favorite players were Walter Payton and Jerry Rice. And my dad, he grew up like in the DC area, so he's a big Redskins fan. He told me as a little kid, like, you can like anybody except the Cowboys. So when you're 4 or 5 years old, your dad tells you can like anybody but the Cowboys. You listen. I didn't mess with the Cowboys. And then the Cowboys were trash. They were bad. Like when I was growing up in elementary schools, when I was really starting to watch football, they were a bad football team, and you couldn't find a Cowboy fan anywhere. The only Cowboy fans I knew were my mom and my grandma, and that was it. But then all of a sudden they started winning. Jimmy Johnson comes in there, they start winning all these championships. Everybody got a Cowboy starter jacket on. All of a sudden, I'm like, wait a minute, you couldn't watch the games. The games were blacked out. You couldn't watch them on TV.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all of a sudden everybody's Cowboys fans. So that made me resent them even more, because they were winning Super Bowls and having parades, and people was rioting at parades and stuff. I'm like, y'all doing this all over the Cowboys, man. And so I didn't stop hating the Cowboys until it was time for the draft. Once business came involved, I was like, oh, if Dallas want to draft me, that's cool.
That's cool.
I'm at
so you got drafted by the Dolphins, though.
I got drafted by the Dolphins.
What did you think about that?
What part of it? I mean, when I got drafted, first of all, I was at my grandma's house in Oak Cliff. That was a great experience. I got drafted on my birthday.
Oh, okay.
On my 22nd birthday, and this was back when 50 Cent had the song in the club. So go Shawty. It's your birthday. So when I got drafted, that was playing in the background. Like, it was a great experience.
So you did it at your grandma's house.
Yeah.
Everybody was there. Did you know that you were going to be a third rounder? How does that work? Tell me that.
So coming from Memphis, it's not a powerhouse. It's gotten a lot better now since I've been there. But in recent about 10 years, Memphis has become a more substantial program. But back then it wasn't. And so going into the combine, I think my draft grade was like 7th round free agent. That was what my draft grade was going into the combine. I went to the combine and my draft stock shot up. And then my agent was saying, like, you're going to get picked in the 3rd round. 2nd or 3rd round at the latest. And so that's what it ended up being. But I had a position change. So when I went to the University of Memphis, I was a tight end. Yeah. So I played tight end and fullback my first 2 years with Memphis. And then we had a coaching change, had an offensive scheme change. They started doing the spread offense. So I moved off. They asked me to move to offensive line. And I almost transferred out of school. Like, nah, because I had started games as a freshman and sophomore at tight end. And the tight end that was the man went to the NFL. So now it's my turn to be the man at tight end. But then it's like, we run the spread offense. We don't use the tight ends anymore. So it's like, either you can move to defensive line, because we want you to play. You need to play. You're too good to not play, but you're not going to get good use at tight end. So it's like, you can move to defensive line and move to offensive line. And so, he was like, my coach brought me into the office. This is like before spring break. He said, think over it over spring break, but come back. He was like, make sure you come back. I guess he could probably see on my face that I wasn't really too high on the idea. But I went back to my apartment, was talking to my roommate, telling him about it. And he was like, man, and he was the starting center on the team. And he was like, bro, if you move the O-line down, you'll do good at it. Just trust me, you'll love it. And my head coach, Tommy West, he told me, say, hey man, if you switch position, you'll end up being one of the most athletic tackles in the draft, and you'll play in the NFL for 10 years. This is what he told me when I'm sitting in the office as he's telling me you're gonna have to switch positions. So he ended up being exactly right. I didn't play 10 years, I played 12 years, but I was one of the most athletic guys in the draft, shot up the board, and so that's how it kind of went.
How it kind of went. So now tell me, because people who don't know the process, when we are watching the draft, we were like, everybody, they're in the third round, they're in the fourth round. They don't know what round they're going to be in. Everybody's, the whole family's there. It's a party going on at the house, whatever. Most of the people who are in the first round, they're right there in the auditorium.
Yeah.
The second, third, well, some of the second are too, but the third, fourth, fifth, third and fourth round, they're basically sitting at home.
Yeah.
So I mean, how does that process go?
So you got to think, back then, the draft, first, second, and third round used to be on the first day. Now
Okay.
it's like the first round is on one day. I believe
The second and third is
are on the second
second
day,
day.
and then fourth through seventh are on the third day.
Right.
They stretched it out because the NFL is all about making bread. And
Yeah.
they do a great job of it. And so they figured out a way to stretch it out so they can make more money off of it. And so, but back then it was first, second, and third round. So we knew when the first round of draft is going on, I know I'm not going to get drafted. I'm just looking to see some of the dudes that I met at the combine, might have played against, played with some of my buddies to see where they get drafted and stuff like that. And the plus you can see by where they get drafted, how that might affect you personally, because there's certain teams that's looking at you, and certain teams that might want you to come to their place. If they draft somebody in your position, then you're like, all right, that might eliminate that team. But I'm at my grandma's house. It's my birthday. My grandma cooked. I'm eating good. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everybody's there. So we just having a party, playing dominoes, whatever. By the time the third round hit, though, it's like, all right, it's going to start close to that time. And he had been there for about, 5-6 hours at this point. And so, I was playing dominoes with my brother and my best friend. And then I was like, man, I need to go outside for a second and get some fresh air, because I felt like it was something was going to happen soon. And so I go outside. I get a call, and it's the 305 number on there. I said, 305, that's Miami. I get on the phone, and it's the GM of the Dolphins. His name is Rick Spielman. I think he's with the Vikings now, but he was like, hey, are you ready to be a Miami Dolphin? Like, hell yeah. You know what I mean? So my brother and my best friend are outside with me, but I guess some of my family members could see what was going on. And so I'm like, yo, I'm going to Miami. And it was a great feeling, man, just to be there with all of my family and friends, people that had been there since I was a little kid, running around the house with a football in my hand. They got to share that experience with me, and so that was great.
So was the camera over there? The cameraman?
we haven't.
So a lot of now
I've never
the
been
cameraman is there.
Yeah, depending on who it is, what PR company they might have, because that's all that is. Back in the day, like, I didn't know anything about none of that. You're talking about being absolutely green. I went to Memphis that wasn't a big-time university. So, when I went to the combine, I didn't wear the right type of shoes to run fast. I didn't know the tricks of the trade to kind of game the system on different things. I was just absolutely green. So I think I was a late bloomer because I just had to see things for myself and figure things out as I went. But I would have never even thought to have like a PR company or a camera crew there filming that experience. Like, that was just something
So let me ask you a question then. So nowadays when we see the draft and there's camera crew already there, and you're doing the phone call in front of the TV, the camera. All that is like a PR related.
That stuff is all pre-planned and set up.
It's pre-planned and set up.
No question about it. And so it's kind of jacked up sometimes when you call some of those kids. Their people will call the local news station and say, hey, be at this person's house because they're going to get drafted at this time, and then they don't go when they're supposed to, and it's a lot of long faces in there, people looking sad and all that type of stuff. But at the same time, if you have somebody to capture it, like, I would have loved to been able to capture that moment. Looking back on it, if I could have just every now and again just pop in the tape, like, this is when they called me, and the feelings and stuff I went through, that would have been great. But I never, that type of thing didn't even cross my mind at all way back then.
So when you played for Miami, Chris Long was there?
No, we didn't.
No?
Chris Long, I don't think Chris Long ever played for the Dolphins.
Did he get drafted for the Dolphins? So he won Howie Long's son.
Yeah, he went to, where did he get drafted by? Chris Long was.
He won the championship with Patriots one year. Yeah,
but he I think he got drafted by the Rams, man. I think he was drafted by the St. Louis Rams.
Okay, maybe
if I remember right,
that.
I believe it was the Rams. Yeah, he never was with the Dolphins.
He was never with the Dolphins.
Yeah.
So when you were with the Dolphins, what did you? And then you ended up coming to Houston Texans. A lot of people, a lot of athletes nowadays, they love the Miami scene. It's just so much glitz and glamour.
Yeah.
And you moved to Houston, and then you ended up making Houston your home. Tell us a little bit about that.
So when I was drafted by Miami, I I was also married probably 6 months after I came to Miami. I got married in October. I got drafted in April. So the time between April and October, I was already engaged, but I got married in October, like on a Tuesday during a like during a normal game week. I just got married on a Tuesday, and so I lived like on the west side of South Florida, so like Pembroke Pines, which is the suburbs. I went to South Beach a total of probably 3-4 times, and I was down there. And every time I went to South Beach, something crazy happened. Like something went on. So I wasn't really in the streets like that, and I was green. And so I was like, man, I'm just gonna stay at the crib. I'm not finna get into too much stuff. So that whole, South Beach lifestyle, I already knew. I was one of them type of people that understood, like, hey, if I get too involved with some of this, I'm gonna end up getting myself into some trouble. So I'm gonna just stay away from it. I'm just focusing on ball, focusing on my family, all that type of stuff. So that's what I did early on in my career. And so I was with Miami for 3 years. Then I went to the Jets for 2 years. Then I went to the Chiefs for 2 years before I came here.
Yeah, you went to Chiefs.
Before I came here to Houston. So when I came here to Houston, I was a free agent. And I had multiple visits. I went to Buffalo and to Arizona, here to Houston. But Houston was a huge front runner with me coming to here because it felt like being recruited all over again in college. But I was like, listen, if I can get back to my home state, I can get back to where my parents and my family can come see every home game. Houston was an up-and-coming team at the time. The year before I got here, they were 9-7. They missed the playoffs by a tiebreaker. So I was like, hey, I want to help put them over the hump. They were talked about it, saying they had their offensive line was soft at the time. And so I was like, I'm gonna come in here and we're gonna have I'm gonna come in with some dog mentality and we're gonna be a better offensive line. And the first year I got here, Arian Foster won the rushing title that year. He had over 1,600 yards, and so I helped make that happen. So I was great. I was great with my decision to come here to Houston, and I love the state of Texas. And then people asked me when I first got here, like, "Hey, you gonna come back to Dallas after you get done playing football?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna come back to Dallas. That's where I'm gonna grow up. I mean, that's where I'm gonna raise my family." But the longer I was here, I was like, man, I love it here. There's no reason for me to go. And this city is so diverse. Like my neighborhood is so diverse. My street is so diverse that you can't get. I don't know anywhere else where you can get that, where you can get a whole bunch of people that don't look like you and a whole bunch of people that do look like you that are successful, and you all live in the same neighborhood. It's just, I know there's no place like that in Dallas. There's no place like that I've seen around the country. But here in Houston, it's like that. And so I love the fact that my kids are growing up in an environment where there really is no majority. Everybody around them has some sort of success in their lives. And so now you're growing up with different cultures. You're going around and learning from different people. And so it's going to help you be a more well-rounded individual once you go out into the world. And so I was like, yeah, I'm not leaving here. So I've been here ever since. I've been here 10 years now.
So besides the diversity, what is one more thing, or a couple more things they like about Houston?
I mean, it's Texas, so there's gonna be great food everywhere. You know what I mean?
I was hoping that you'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, there's great food everywhere here in Houston, and so you can't go wrong there. You can't go wrong with just the way people interact with one another. It's very. I mean, I feel like when you're here, you feel like you're at home. You know what I mean? And me growing up in Dallas and being from Texas is different. Like when you leave the state of Texas and people say, hey, where you from? Whatever city you say in Texas, they're going to be like, oh, you from Texas. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, we just have a different mentality here. It's probably the most prideful state in out of 50, you know what I mean, United States of America. When people from Texas, they be like, yeah, I'm from Texas. Like I represent Texas. And so I love that about it. I love the area that my kids have grown up in, the schools that are there, and there's a lot of things to love about the city.
So tell me, food. You said you love the food. So if you were to take your family on Friday evening, what kind of food are y'all eating as a family?
Oh, that's a good question, man. I mean, if it depends on what's going on. I'm gonna eat some.
Give me a couple of good genres of food you like.
I'm a big barbecue guy, so I go to Ray's Real Barbecue Pit.
You go support your boy Herb over there.
Yeah, no question about it. I'm gonna go see him when I get a chance to, and so I know when I go there to eat, I'm gonna be sleepy afterwards, and I'm gonna go home and lay down and just chill for the rest of the day because I eat We eat real big over there. But there's a lot of great steakhouses around the city. There's Killings, and I mean I mean, you could throw a rock and find a great restaurant. You know what I mean? If you want to eat some paleo food, you go to Ruggles Black. You know what I mean? If you want to,
that's good.
You know, it's good food.
She got
all
keto
over the
now
place.
too.
Keto, paleo, all that stuff. Yeah, I mean,
I like that food. It has that Indian fusion spice.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about Houston, man. You gonna fuse all different types of stuff together. You know, get you some good Torchy's tacos. It's just, man, it's a lot of different.
Whatever kind of food you want.
You're trying to make me hungry right now. Son, right? I ain't eaten yet this morning, man.
Whatever kind of food you want to get, you want some crawfish. There's several kind of crawfish.
You can go to LA Fisherman, get you some crawfish.
You want Vietnamese crawfish, Cajun crawfish, whatever. You want
that,
Indian food. You got some Indian food. You want some
of this and some of that.
Pho.
See,
you're
that's one
right.
thing that I never tasted before until I got here to Houston was some Vietnamese pho. I'm like, I always thought it was pho. You know what I mean? I just say it was like, what's that pho? What's that? I actually tried it here. That's some damn good stuff. I probably need to get me some now. My voice a little raspy.
You know, maybe ramen will be good. And that's another big thing coming up. Ramen soup.
Yeah. Well, that was a big thing in college.
Ramen.
Ramen in college. Ramen.
I'm not talking about ramen noodles.
Yeah, I'm talking about ramen noodles. And we didn't call them ramen. We called them Roman noodles. I don't know what y'all call them, but we call them Roman noodles. And so when people talk about,
we had ramen
people
noodles.
talk about eating ramen, I'm like, nah, I'm cool on that, man.
Yeah.
I had my fill of that growing up. Now I will still eat me some Popeyes though. Don't get that twisted. You ever had Popeyes before?
Popeyes.
Not Popeyes.
Pot pies, of course, pot pies, of course.
Okay, yeah. So.
Hey, listen, you know what? I grew up, kind of poor.
Yeah.
So ramen noodles, pot pies, anything I could get.
Yeah.
That's what we were eating then.
Really?
Let me tell you what, I haven't shared this with a lot of people, but every time I tell my dad, hey dad, we're gonna go out somewhere, my dad said, yeah, let's go. We'll go to Burger King because the Whopper was only 99 cents.
Yeah, 99 cents.
And that was family dinner for us.
Yeah, that got me through college, bro.
That
got me through college.
So and we couldn't get fries. My mom wouldn't let us get fries. We'd have to get 2 fries, and we all had to share because Whopper was 99 cents. So she was like, if you're hungry, get 2 Whoppers.
Yeah.
But you can't eat fries. We gotta all share the fries. So I've had my share of the humble beginnings.
Yeah, man. Get you some 99-cent Whoppers, and then go to the dollar store and get you some 99-cent chips. But it'll be a big bag if you get it from dollar store.
Yeah.
And I would get 3. That was my weekends: 3 Whoppers and 3 bags of chips.
And so that's what college. We'll do. That's crazy you saying that because my mom will bring we'll go get the Whopper, bring it home, and then she'll have the Lay's potato chips that she'll buy from O'Shawn's.
Yeah.
For 39 cents.
Already.
So but let me I appreciate you coming over here. Let me ask you, is there something someone always if someone always talks to you, is there something that you always wish people would ask you but nobody ever asked you?
Something that people wish they would ask me that they never asked me.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's a good question. I'd have to really think on that. I wish they would ask me because a lot of people. I wish people would ask me when they talk to me about the kids that I affect. Just ask me the different stories of the different interactions that I have with them and what a difference that it does make if they cared more about that. A lot of times when you're out and about and you're doing these events and socialites and philanthropists and all the type of stuff, and it's like, oh Wade, like he's awesome, he does great things, he does stuff, but like no, it's deeper than that. It's very hands-on. It's very ground level. It's very grassroots. And so those people that really care about those stories, those are the ones that I really appreciate.
Share one that stands to you that you can say, you know what, let me share this one.
Well, I'll give a story. This won't be a youth story, but this will be one of my college kids. So I have a kid that he's not a kid now. He's graduated from the University of Houston now. But you have a guy that went to Lamar High School, used the scholarship money that he was able to receive through the Smitty Scholarship Program to get him all the way through college to where when he graduated college, he was debt-free. He's got an engineering degree, doing great things around the city of Houston. And so those are the type of situations when they happen, you think to yourself like, man, I understand this is why I do it. This is why I do it. When you can bring people with you to Reading with the Pros and see how the kids interact and see when you have conversations, anytime you can get one-on-one in front of a small group of kids and do Q&A with them and have them basically get on an eye level with you and understand that at one point you used to be like them, but you are a success in life and you made it. You're a boss. I want to be a boss too. This guy is going to explain to me how to make it happen. And they have that aha moment like, wow, okay. Or like that cosign. Like, I love reading books, but usually I get made fun of for reading books, but they said it's cool. You know what I mean? They said that it's okay. And you see the faces in the crowd. You see them light up. You see the smiles. You see the little girls that see a chef on the panel, or a female police officer, somebody they identify with, that look up there, man, I want to be just like them. You know what I mean? And so that's a cool feeling. The thing that I do with the Reading with the Pros program is I get a really diverse group of people to be up there on that panel. I'll have some current and former NFL players and athletes, but I have business owners like you, like Nira from Ruggles Black. I have business owners like Herb. I have doctors, police officers, firefighters, just professionals and all different, chefs, radio disc jockeys, TV reporters. So all these people that have to utilize literacy and reading on a daily basis in order for them to continue to live out their dream. But at the same time, it lets them know that, hey, if they can make it, you can make it as well. They used to be just like you, and I try to make sure that there's a good representation on that stage to where whatever group of kids I'm talking to, they see somebody up there that reminds them of themselves. And so if they can make that, if they can relate that back to, like, they look just like me, or that looks like my uncle, or that looks like my aunt, and they're telling me to do this. Anytime, like, that's the thing about kids, man. I have my kids, I talk to kids all the time, right? And I tell them X, Y, Z, and they listen because I'm Wade Smith. I played for the Texans. I tell my kids the same thing, but they're just like, you're just dad. Like, all right, dad, whatever. And it takes them making mistakes if you're talking about, oh, well, dad was right. But anytime you can get somebody that supposedly has status that's not their parents telling the kids something, they perk up and they listen. It's not their teachers that they see each and every day. It's not their parents that they see each and every day. These are people that they look at on TV and they say, wow, they're true. telling me this is what it is. Like, I'm gonna listen to this.
Listen to that. Yeah, that's true. Wait, so what is in Wade Smith's future? I mean, you're still a young guy.
Yeah.
What are you, 39, 38?
I'm 38. That's a great question. I'm a day-to-day guy, but I'm also a futuristic guy. Eventually, I'm going to find myself coaching somewhere. I mean, eventually, I'm going to end up coaching at the high school football level, and if not there, at the NFL level. That's something I've always been a teacher. You know what I mean? Even though when I played the game, I taught the game too, for people that might have been there to take my job or people that was there beside me teaching the game of football. I love everything. That's why I talk about sports on Sports Radio 610, is because I'm teaching. It's an opportunity for me to talk about and teach the game to the masses, people that aren't there on a ground level each and every day. I like teaching. And so eventually I'm going to get into that. But the thing right now is the most important thing to me is to be the best dad I can be. And so in being present. And so by me being a dad and caring that much about being there for my kids, being a coach, those things don't jive. They don't jive. An NFL coach in time is something that you don't have a lot of it.
How old is your youngest?
How old is the youngest? My youngest daughter is 2. 2 years old. So, but see, the thing about my youngest is that she's 2. And so if she grows up a certain type of way, it's not going to be an issue for her. In other words, like my 2 oldest kids, they grew up at a young age moving all over the place. Yeah. Right. So they were used to that. But then once we settled down, it was like, all right, now it's been this way for about 6 years, 7 years. Like once we got here to Houston, they've been here in Houston for 10 straight years. So I'm not finna mess that up. They're gonna have to get out of high school before I even decide to like do anything with coaching, because I don't want them to, I'm not trying to give them that abrupt thing just because it's something I want to do. In the meantime, I can continue to do the stuff that I'm doing in the community. I can continue giving back to kids, but eventually I'm going to. So we can expect
a mid-40s Wade Smith getting into coaching.
No question. Mid-40, yeah, somewhere around there, 42, 43.
43. Yeah, man, you know what? That's good. I wish you good luck in that.
Yeah.
Wade, it's time to finish the show, and I always ask, my guests to tell, do this one thing. if you have to share 3 things with future generations, kids, anyone who's hearing, this show, 3 things that you can share with, something that is your mantra in life, or
Yeah.
something you want to pay it forward or move it forward or share it forward, what would it be?
Nothing worth having in life comes easy.
Nothing. Okay.
Absolutely nothing. Nothing worth having in life comes easy. That, to me, that's all encompassing. Like, if you really want something and it's something important and something significant, it's going to take hard work. It's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take adversity in order to achieve it. And once you do achieve it, there's nothing like it. And so nothing worth having in life comes easy. If it comes too easy for you, you're not going to appreciate it. You know what I mean? You're going to have to be able to grind and go through some things for you to truly appreciate what you accomplish in life. Like, in order for me to live out my dream to be an NFL player, it took a lot. It took a lot of sacrifice. It took a lot of great decision making. It took a lot of blessings from God. It took a lot of things for me to make it. Hard work, weight room, on the field, mentally, educating myself, all that type of stuff. So nothing worth having in life comes easy. I think that's the most important thing.
All right. What is the number 2?
Number 2, like I said, I think it's pretty much all encompassing, but making good choices. I mean, there's going to be times in life, a lot of times in life, where there's things that you want to do that can take away from things that you truly need to do in life and what you eventually want to be. So if you're a good decision maker, if you're willing to make sacrifices and do things that other people are not willing to do. There's a lot of people that are talented in this world, but the ones that run things, the ones that are decision makers, are the ones that make good decisions and are really willing to sacrifice some of that short-term gratification for long-term success. And so I think that's extremely important, that you make good decisions and that you are willing to sacrifice some of those kind of short-term wishes and wants for long-term success.
Awesome. That's a powerful one. Number 3.
Learn something new every day. Like, continue to educate yourself every single day. And it doesn't mean that you have to, like, the only way you can educate yourself is to go to college. Nah, that's not what I'm saying. You educate yourself every day. Learn something new every day. If you don't learn something in that day, then to me that day was counterproductive. You didn't gain and you didn't grow as a person. And so learn something new every day. Have a conversation with somebody that you might not have otherwise had a conversation with, because you're going to pick up and gain knowledge for somebody that is not in your normal circle. You know what I mean? Or read a book that you might not otherwise read, or listen to something, or whatever you can do to gain knowledge and learn something, the better off you can be. I'm all about having people to eventually become bosses, right? Well, I've never met a boss that was a good boss and that lasted in any kind of business that was not intelligent. If somebody tries to tell you what to do, I tell kids this all the time. If somebody tried to tell you what to do and they didn't know what they was talking about, how would you look at that person? You look at them like what are you talking? You're a clown right now. Like, what are you trying to tell me?
Yeah.
But
talking out of your ass.
Exactly. But the more that you learn, the more information that you gain in whatever specific field that you're trying to do, and just general knowledge, it makes you a more well-rounded person. It'll allow you eventually to grow into that role of being a boss. And so you have to have that intelligence in order to be that. And I mean, I've never come across a dumb boss. You know what I mean? If I have, then that person hasn't been a boss for a very long time. You know, they have a way of weeding yourself out. You can be a dumb boss if you might have inherited some money and you were given a role like, hey, he's the boss. But when you're around people like that, you can't respect them. You know what I mean? If somebody's telling you what to do and they don't know what the hell they're talking about, you don't respect what they have to say. And so I want to make sure that every young person that I come across understand that and try to further gain knowledge each and every day, because it's going to pay off in the long run.
Definition of a boss, since you've mentioned boss.
Definition of a boss.
Yeah. What is a boss to you?
A boss is a decision maker. A boss is the person that pulls the strings. It's the person that, you know, at the end of the day, they get to do what they need. They do what they want to do. You know what I mean? They of course they have to do what they need to do, but they can decide what's what. They're in control of the situation. I always like to be, or rather be, in a situation where ultimately, if something goes wrong, it's on me. as opposed to being on somebody else. And so when you're in a position of a boss, you're delegating to other people, but the people you put in certain roles, that's on you. You hired that person. You brought that person in the fold. You had the ability to see something in that person that could help further the ultimate mission. And so I love to be in that role, and I love to see other people be in that role.
Gotcha.
Some people are not built to be bosses. Some people are built to be workers, and that's fine. But if you got that in you at all, you need to harness that and pull it out, because I would much rather that type of life for somebody than otherwise.
Now, we talked about Kobe Bryant earlier. I had heard an interview of Kobe Bryant that first time he went to the summer camp, he sucked.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, he kept practicing, and a couple of years later, he was one of the star players or whatever. Is there something that resembles to you? I mean, because you never thought that you'll play in NFL. How did you get to that high level of playing? You're the top performer.
I mean, I kept working, man. I kept gaining knowledge. I kept putting in work, man. Nothing worth having in life comes easy. That 10 years into the league, you get to the Pro Bowl. That was an amazing experience, because I finally made it to the pinnacle of what I did. You know what I mean? But you have to continue to compete. You have to continue to grind. You have to outwork the next man. There's a lot of people that are really talented in this world. But if you can outwork somebody that is talented, hard work will beat great talent 10 out of 10 times. You know what I mean?
On that note, what is the advice you'll give to somebody who is watching this, listening to this, and saying, hey, you know what? I can't do this, but I want to do this. I mean, what advice will you give it to them?
Well, first of all, I would tell you to take the word can't out your vocabulary. If you say that you can't do something, then you won't. You got to speak things into existence. If you truly believe in something and believe in yourself, you can do any damn thing you want to. Like, that's the beautiful thing about the way things work. I mean, if you put your mind to whatever it may be, you can accomplish just a multitude of things. And so take can't out your vocabulary. If there's something that you're having trouble with, find somebody that doesn't have trouble with what you're having trouble with. Mm-hmm. Learn from them, gain knowledge from them. A lot of people want to teach you. There's a lot of people in this world that naturally take to people that are willing to work and willing to put in that grind. And like a lot of people that have made it, they can see and tell when somebody that's coming up underneath them or behind them, you can see they got that same drive, and you acknowledge that, and you want to try to cultivate that and make it come to fruition. That's the same thing Nipsey Hussle talking about. The marathon continues. Listen, what's your legacy? If somebody comes behind you and you help them become great, people they're gonna realize that this person, Sam, took this person on his wing, and Sam brought these people along, and now they're doing huge things all over the world. And so if you're a person that's one of those people coming up, find those people that are in those roles that you want to be in. Try to learn from them. Try to become interns for them, whatever it may be. But if you have the word can't in your vocabulary, you will not ever be successful in what you want to do. You got to eliminate that from your vocabulary and just figure out ways to make it happen.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time, and appreciate it, man.